for Arfield. One upper leg. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside. Decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Obviously quickly finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
Only by Fulton Teller. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day. And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby.
Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Top shot.
Oh, what a goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class. Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello and welcome along to the latest instalment of the TurfCsast podcast. Full-time show with me, Joe Redmond, after Burnley's defeat yesterday at Villa Park, a 2-1 defeat down in Birmingham. And not a great performance as well. I think it's fair to say a lot of fans felt frustrated with the performance. It feels like, for me yesterday anyway, I was looking at it thinking this is easily our worst performance of the season. Not including Cardiff and Derby, because who really cares about them games? But in terms of the Premier League, I felt like yesterday was really, really poor, really poor. And I, for one, have started getting a little bit worried as of now, if I'm honest with you. But keep your comments coming in. GST says, evening all, evening, mate. Hope you're well. Steve Lover says, it's going to be a long season, ain't it? Yeah, maybe, mate. Scott O'Sullivan says, evening all, the season starts against Leeds. Chronicles of Chard. Good to see you back in the chat, mate. Hope you're well. Says, something has to change. Steve Lover says, if not Leeds, Wolves. GST says, got a feeling this season is going to be starting after each game the way we are shaping up. And then Steve goes on saying, not wrong. Get your comments coming in. We always love your comments. If you haven't already, no matter what platform you're watching on, make sure you like the video. And I'm going to do a little bit of begging again, like I've started doing a little bit recently. But just a reminder, I am running the Manchester Half Marathon. That is happening on Sunday coming. So if you want to donate to us, you can just scan that QR code in the corner. That'll take you to the Just Giving page. We are around 50 quid short of the target. I think it is now. I can't remember. I think it's around 50 quid. I'll just check later on. But Chris is having issues, by the way. So I don't know if you, Chris, I can see you, mate. We'll give it a whirl. We'll give it a whirl. See how you get on.
I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you actually pretty well there. I can hear you pretty well.
I don't know
there.
what's going on. It's like just glitchy. I'm going to leave and rejoin.
Right, I'll let you do that then, mate, and I'll just give my thoughts on the game before we crack on to asking you. I'll just do that for you, mate. There you go. But yeah, get your comments coming in about the game. Anthony David says we have nothing up top. 2 crap centre forwards. Nice way of putting it, mate. But can I argue with you on that? I don't think I can. Matthew Corbett says only thing going for us is that it's international break. Parker now has a week or so to get back to the training ground. Try and get different ideas, but for me, Parker may have to go if 0 points in the next 2. Is it not a bit early to be talking about the manager going, mate? I think it is, especially after everything he did for us last season. Lee Dane says, evening, gents. Who's our attacking coach? I would suggest he's non-existent, to be fair. GST said, Chris needs a January transfer swoop to Andrew's Hamsters. I'm not sure if they have left my house yet, because they were at my house, weren't they, for a little bit, when the internet was pretty awful at my house. But yeah, let's just quickly get into the game then and my thoughts on it. Just looking at the stats there, it's not meant for good reading, does it? 15 shots for Villa to our 5, 55% possession for Villa to our 45%, 6 corners to our 4. And this doesn't show shots on target, but I'll quickly get it up on another screen that I can see. I'm pretty sure that were pretty damning as well. Shots on target for Burnley was 2. So that was obviously the goal and Cullen's shot. Which, a decent effort from Cullen, but again, it was a long-range effort, and obviously the goal was straight from a corner, so that again just says that we don't have anything up top. And I know Anthony has also said that we have two crap centre forwards. And I do not disagree with that, to be fair. They were both pretty poor yesterday. I mean, we are going to talk about them both individually. I've got some very damning stats to put on screen later on for both Foster and Brozier. But I don't think we were good enough going forward as a unit. It wasn't just them, but they've got to be offering more. They really, really do. MJH Gaming says, I am concerned, but did we not really think we would get any points yesterday? Leeds is now a massive game, and I think it was more the performance yesterday rather than the result. I agree with that. I think we are where we expected to be at this stage. I think 4 points on the board. But yeah, yesterday was obviously a little bit worrying. Reece James says, Anthony's been pretty good and effective, so I don't want to slate him, but Anthony being our best attacking player by a mile isn't screaming survival. And the problem was, he wasn't great yesterday. And when he's not great, evidently, we're not great. Chronicles of Charles says, we have conceded the same amount of goals and Company did in the Premier in the same games we played this season, and we are known for being solid at the back. I don't know where the goals are going to come. That's an interesting stat. I didn't know that, mate, but I'd like to see the difference in opponents. Obviously, Vincent we played against City on the first day of the season, to be fair. So it's a damning stat anyway, mate. You are spot on there to bring that up, and it's a good stat. Matthew Corbett says he did well last year, but his style of play just won't work in the Premier League, as shown at Fulham and Bournemouth. And does, I'll back him, but it isn't looking great. I see what you're saying, mate, but I just feel like we are where we are at the minute in this league, and I think we are where we expected to be. Chris, hopefully your issues are sorted. Give me your thoughts on the game yesterday, please, mate.
Well, firstly, I'll give the hamsters a rocket and they're running now, so it should be good. But yeah, I think I pretty much said everything like in the fan reaction, where just really, really underwhelming. I went into that game yesterday and I thought, do you know what? We've perhaps got half a chance here. It just felt like Villa have played Saturday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever they've been playing since the start of September when they come back. They played weekend, midweek, and I thought, you know what, we're perhaps catching them at a decent time here where they've rotate the squad, but everyone's been playing. It just felt more winnable. I'm not saying Villa's an easy place to go to. We all know it's not. But it just felt like we were coming off the back of like City, and you thought, yeah, we've got a chance here. And we were just miles off it. Defensively, all over the place, which isn't... I know that like the lad who put that stat in, which is interesting if it's true. But generally speaking, we haven't been like this under Parker. We've played obviously some really good teams and been picked off at times. 5-1 against City probably flattered him. 2 goals in added time probably doesn't help that record. It's just like other people have said, you just question where the goals are going to come from after yesterday. I think I felt confident certainly after the Liverpool game, and where I thought, yeah, we've got something to build on here, like platform we can build upon. We found something that works. And then since then, we've kind of stuck with that thing and it hasn't worked. And now I feel probably less confident than I have all season, weirdly, like in 3 games. And like, admittedly, we've had 3 tough games, but I probably feel less confident after yesterday than I have done for quite a while. I just think we were miles off it. I don't think we were anywhere near it. I don't want to sit here and say like we were horrific, because I've definitely seen us play worse in the Premier League, but we were just a million miles off where everyone kind of expected us to be. I think to concede 2 goals as easy as we did was something no one expected from us. Yeah. Everyone thought the shtick for us would be that we keep the ball out the net and we might just get 1 or 2 and we steal a 1-1 draw, 2-1 win, 1-0 win, something like that. So to be conceding goals at the rate we are, and not just that, like at the ease we are, is worrying. So yeah, for me yesterday, I just felt it was like the first game where we could have got something, and you thought, yeah, we could kick on here if we get something, and we were just miles off it. Like, I don't think we actually laid a glove on him. That graphic completely flatters us, because
I agree with that, because that suggests that their first goal came against a run of play. I didn't feel like that at all at the time.
I never felt in that game until probably after we scored. I felt like we had probably a bit more of the play, but I think for large parts that I would say probably for 80% of the game, if not more, I don't think we had any control over it at all. I just thought like every time Villa come forward, I thought they're going to score. They were just so dangerous. We were just way off it. Yeah.
It's interesting that you said that about not feeling confident anymore, but you did after the Liverpool game, because I completely agree. I've changed my mind 3 times already this season. When we first got promoted, I was like, yeah, there's there's no chance we're staying up. Like I've said before and cracked the joke a few times now, I think it's mainly to do with the PTSD from the last time we were in the Premier League. But then I saw us against Sunderland, I saw us against Liverpool, even against Spurs, and we got beat comfortably. And United, where obviously it were a 90th minute penalty for United. I just felt like we had enough to stay up. I felt like we'd shown that we'd have enough to at least have a right good go at it. But the last few games, and now I'm including the Cardiff game, just because it now suits my argument. The last few games, I've just seen absolutely nothing from us to suggest that we can stay up. And it's worrying because, like you said, we looked like we had something to build on. And we've just not built on it. We've just looked really, really poor in these last few games and really bad at the back and really awful defensively, like you said. But you did mention the fact that how easy it was for them to score the goals. Obviously, this is the first goal. And it's so bad, the defending here. Now, this screenshot's just a little bit after the guy has released the ball. Obviously, you can just see the ball there on the left-hand side of your picture. It's just been released. But if you see it, just before he hits it, it's awful. We're too high up the pitch. We're doing a half-arsed press. I think it's Tuanzebe, gets dragged out of position far too easily. He goes to press the ball, and it's just a half-arsed, shitty little press. He's beaten far too easily, and then there's a massive gap there. So for me, I was looking at that and thinking Tuanzebe was at fault because he gets dragged out of position far too easily. But you in the WhatsApp group, and you said it on Twitter as well, didn't you, Chris, that you're looking at Hartman there. You feel like Hartman should be pushing up because Steve's pushed up to obviously fill the gap that Tuanzebe has left, and then Hartman should be looking at and moving closer to the goal scorer.
Yeah, I think if you kind of rewind that, I mean, obviously we don't have that provision to do it on here, but I think if you kind of rewound it to the point where Kamara's receiving the ball and getting his head up, I think Hartman should probably sniff the danger out and just cover across. That's what a left back would do. And I'm not going to single him out and say the goal's his fault. It's a comedy of errors from probably 5 players. You know, there's no midfielder putting any pressure on him to play that pass. Tuanzebe, is that Laurent on the far side? I don't even know where Kyle Walker is.
Yeah, I think that's Laurent there, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we've played a back 5 to become more solid. Yeah, like this is it here now. Like, to me, Hartman's, and there's one even sooner when he gets that ball. You've just got to cover around and like spot.
He's ball watching, isn't he? You can see where he's caught ball watching. He's still stood parallel to the plate, parallel to the line. He's not turned his body to start running yet. Steve already has. Steve already notices that the danger's on. He's not looking at the player. He's not seen that he's made the move. Obviously, he's also playing him on side. Well, Steve would be, to be fair. Obviously, I've got that wrong. Steve would play him on side, but he should now at this stage be seeing that Steve's made the move. There's no point in trying to play him offside. Turn and make the run. Or push up, like you say.
Yeah, I think he's just got to cover round and get round the back of him. That's just basic, like, full-back play. Like, there's not really much Steve can do there. He's caught between a rock and a hard place because if he covers the inside, it just gets played to Watkins and he's through on goal. Or if he covers Watkins, it's coming through to Malin. But that's where he needs help for his full-back to get around him. But, like you said, you mentioned then about the press. I don't even... I'm just looking at that picture now. I don't know if that's Kyle Walker right at the top underneath your QR code, but I think that's perhaps Kyle Walker. What he's doing up there, I have no idea if that is it. But, when you say about the press, it's like, what are we even going to Villa and pressing for? Like, seriously, what are we even going to Villa and pressing for? Like, let's just sit back and soak up pressure. That's what we've been so good at for how long's he been here now? 18 months, whatever it's been, just over a year. We've been so good at sitting in and soaking up pressure, and then to go and have three of our back 5 get caught ahead of the ball when there's a goal, that's just unforgivable to me. And this bit here now, obviously we're not going to play it on. I think Steve probably should slide in because if he takes another touch when he actually hits it, he's going even further away from goal. So all he can do is shoot from the angle he gets. So I'm not really sure why he doesn't slide in. But, listen, that's probably the last error of 3, 4, 5 that let it go as far as he can. At the end of the day, when one pass splits an entire back 5 and midfield 2, you can't just blame the person who's not slid in to block it. So it's just a comedy of errors. Like, we could sit here and analyse that one all night, but when one pass goes through your entire team, you can blame whoever you want. It's just a fucking killer. It's just a shambles.
Yeah, like that's obviously where, well, that's the moment he gets the ball and looks up, as you mentioned. That's after he plays the pass, and that's him in. It's just far too easily. As Chronicles of Sean says there, it's the defensive shape is awful. We're too high up the pitch. We're pressing for some unknown reason, like you said, when everything that we've built over the last 18 months has been based on sitting back and doing well and soaking up pressure. So it is a worry. Obviously, a lot's been made about the five at the back. A lot of people now calling for it to be scrapped. I think Nathan went big on it. We are expecting Nathan to drop in, by the way. He did say he'd drop in at around 7, so we'll be able to ask Nathan this as well in a bit. But the five at the back, it doesn't feel like it's working based on the last 2 games, does it? The City game and obviously the Villa game. It worked against Liverpool. You could probably argue it didn't really work against United because we conceded 2, but I felt like yesterday, with the five at the back, we're sacrificing forward players. We're focusing on a lot of defence, but yet we're still conceding sloppy goals. So I just feel like, what is the point in it if we're sacrificing going forward, sacrificing attacking play for defensive stability, and we don't have that defensive stability? So do you agree with the majority who are now saying scrap the back five?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sit here and be like, I told you so, but I did say in pre-season, like before the season started, like we shouldn't do it. I said it in my fan reaction, like all the teams who've been promoted and played it and been successful with it, like I can think of 3. Brentford did it, Wolves did it, and Sheffield did it, but they all like mastered it in the Championship. It takes years of recruitment to buy players who fit these positions. You can't just shoehorn someone into this, like you were good at this last season, but actually now we want you to do this. Like Steve, you were good in a 2, he was your partner, but now we want you in a 3. Well, you're next to him today, next week it might be in.
Yeah.
And then you're not actually playing in the middle now. You're going like over to the left hand side. Like you've got to have players to suit that system. We don't have it. You shoehorn in Josh Laurent into being a centre half. It worked against Liverpool miraculously. I don't actually know how it did, but it did. But if you're playing centre midfielders at centre back in the Prem, you can't really be surprised when you're getting found out the way you are. To me, I'm not really surprised that we've ended up getting found out the way we have. Better teams will always like find a way to get through it eventually. Listen, if they had a back five and we played maybe Kyle Walker at right centre half and we had Connor Roberts maybe at right wing back, it might look half better perhaps. I just don't think Walker's a right wing back, and I don't think Josh Laurent's a right. Well, Josh Laurent isn't a centre half.
Definitely not. Yeah, I love Josh, and I think he gives it all and stuff, but yeah, he's not a centre half.
No, if you had players who were actually playing in their own positions, then maybe it would look a bit different. But I think I said it in my fan reaction as well. If I didn't, I've said it to like family since when we've been talking. Like we all sat on here and laughed at, well, not laughed at him because it wasn't funny, but like we all said about Company, like why did we get promoted and rip everything up? Like what we were good at and what got us here. And then Parker's kind of done the same thing. We come up with 4-2-3-1, 3, like same midfield 3 pretty much every week. We knew what we were getting. Back 4 was consistent. And we had that shape that we were good at. Yeah. And now like he's kind of ripped everything up, gone for this new shape. And I get sometimes you've got to adapt, and you do, but we didn't even give chance for like what we were good at to succeed in the Prem because we've just put everything in this 5 at the back. And it just needs to go. To me, 2 midfielders in the Premier League as like a team who isn't, what would be the right word? Like not one of the big 6. Like big 6 City would probably get away with playing 2 in midfield because they're that good against like a smaller team. But for us, everyone plays 3 pretty much. So you just need to match them or you get overrun. Like the second goal, Rodgers just picks up like a nice half space behind the midfield and defence, like between defence and midfield, and one pass and it's in again. And you're like, where's that even come from? It's just so easy to play through it. And I think that's why we're getting so many chances away, personally.
So why do you think it is so easy then? Because we've got enough bodies there. Like we should have the 2 DMs there. We should have the 3 CDMs there. Yeah. Sorry, DMs, centre backs and defensive. There should be 5 people there in the middle, but they're just not there. And obviously we've got this attacking. We don't have this attacking sort of like mentality. What I'm trying to say is we're sacrificing the attacking play for this style, but then this style in these moments isn't working. What I don't understand is why is there so many gaps and why is it so easy when there's supposed to be so many bodies in there? And that's why we're playing 5 at the back. We're playing 5 at the back to stop stuff like this happening.
No,
Hence sacrificing our attacking play, but it's still happening. It don't make any sense. Why do you think it's still so easy for them to get through?
I think for me, it just comes back to what I said before. Like, it's a back 5 and a back 3 is like a specialist thing. You've got to work it for years. Like, you can't just turn it on. Like, you're asking players who have never played in this system in the career, or they haven't for years, to just turn up and play it. Like, Walker only played right-sided centre-half for England. Like, he never played there for City. He always played at right-back. So, although he has played there, he's not got like rafts of experience. I can't speak for Hartman because I've never even heard of him when we signed him. But, you know, Steve has never played in a back 5. You know, Josh Cullen's never played in front of a back 5 for us. So I don't know about Ekdal again when he was in Sweden, but for us, he's never played in a back 5. So you're asking players to do things that they've never done before. To me, people just don't know the roles. Like when you said before about Twanzebe jumping out of defence and into midfield, that's because he doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah. Like players just, to me, a lot of them just don't know whether they're coming or going. The space is out wide, like, and it's like, well, who's covering? Like, am I covering that? They just don't know what they're doing to me. And that sounds harsh, but I when I watch him, I think like he doesn't know what his role is here. He just doesn't know what he's doing, and I think it's because it just takes so much time to perfect that system that no one plays it. Like, who successfully plays a back 3 in world football right now, other than like Inter Milan?
Yeah, it's a bizarre one to change it. It's a bizarre one to change it. And just in time as well, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Nathan Rogers, who you've come in at the right time, mate. Love that shirt, by the way, because we are discussing the back 5, and I know it was your main point of your fan reaction, and you were saying it has to go, and that was a headline that I chose from what you said. So, presume we know your thoughts on it. Your thoughts are it has to go, just like the majority of people are saying, just like Chris has just said for the last 5 minutes. What are your thoughts on it then? Like, what do you think we should do now? Go back to 4-2-3-1, something like that? 4-1-4-1? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've not really given too much thought about the rest of the formation, but I think the 5 suits us when we're really under the cosh and under the pump. It gives us that sort of base to build from. But against teams like Villa that were a little bit... Villa are a great team, and the squad depth is just night and day, isn't it, between us and us and them. But I think with a squad like Villa, the team that are a little bit in transition, a little bit in... not no man's land, but I won't say they were there for the taking, but they could have been there for the taking if we'd have been a bit more proactive with them. And I think that's where the 5 at the back experiment against teams like Villa just doesn't seem to be that productive and work that well. I think I said it in my fan reaction that I don't mind being 5 at the back if it gives you that defensive sort of solidity and that guarantee that it keeps you that clean sheet. I mean, obviously you can't guarantee a clean sheet, but the benefit, the problem being defensive first and having 5 at the back is that you don't concede stupid goals. And like against Villa, we just conceded 2 very simple goals, and that defeated the whole object of the 5 at the back. So I think going back to a 4 with a better midfield that maybe pulls Louise a little bit and almost becomes a third centre back in like defensive transitions, it sort of sorts itself out a little bit, and he's got the nous to do that. But I think for the most part, I think we have to, and again, we're forever asking company to sort of be a bit more defensive minded, weren't we? But it's now like the other way. Like, you do just want that little bit of like, no, believe yourself, because there's quality players on that pitch, and I think we sometimes just do get a bit frustrated. He tries to keep that clean sheet, and we're not doing that. So it's got to be. I think
yesterday highlighted the fact that we're sacrificing this. As I've said before, you joined. We're sacrificing this forward play for defensive stability, and not getting the defensive stability. Seems pointless.
Yeah. I think that confidence as well, that would translate through. I know it does. I'm not saying that going to a back 4 will fix everything else, but I think having that almost like an attacking defensive mind would then filter through the lines through everybody else. Whereas I think we're playing 5 at the back, it's already like, right, we're here to batten down the hatches. Your forward players aren't really going to be that interested in it to an extent, and I think we're relying on Anthony to do a hell of a lot as our forward man, and I know he's doing what he can do and putting the goals away where he can, but it's a lot on his shoulders, and it really showed because Foster is just getting absolutely nothing up there. Like, he's having to really come in and get involved because we are so deep and so defensive as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Keep your comments coming in. Let me know your thoughts on what we're talking about. Quite a lot of comments about the 5 at the back. Just quickly though, Steve Lover says, does anyone know where Ekdal was yesterday? Well, Parker did say in a interview that it was a tactical reason, but I would feel that if it was a tactical reason, then it's a silly reason, because why would you play Loren at centre-back and have an actual centre-back not even in the squad? But something has come out that he was spotted on a plane going to Sweden on Friday night. So at a guess, and it's not for me to speculate, I would say there's some sort of like family issue. But that is obviously, as Matthew says there, apparently a family reason. But as GST says there, Parker said it was tactical in its post-match. But yeah, I guess we just don't know. Claret Al says, Walker, Humphreys / Ekdal, Steve Hartman, this works. Add Luis in front of them and then Cullen and Les in front of them. MJH Gaming says, I don't think the back 5 is helping, really. We have never played it until this season. That's kind of what Chris just said. Matthew Corbett says, I thought Estev did do enough for the first goal, in my opinion. Malingo's wide enough. Dubravka has to do better for that one. I just think it's a great finish. I think Steve, you could probably look at it and in hindsight say, yeah, you probably should have slid there at that point. But I feel like he's forced him out really wide there. And I just think it's a great finish from the lad. The thing that worries me the most is how easy it was to get it to him. Reece James says, we've got enough to make a really solid setup with the strongest back 4, plus Louise, Cullen and Les. I agree with that. Chronicles of Shard says, if we play 4 at the back, I genuinely don't know who will be good enough to sit in with the Stev and centre half. MGH Gaming said, you have the players to play that formation. I think he's talking about the back 4. GST says, I think we're far too reliant for Walker and Hartman for the width, and we're getting turned over in transition with these 2 higher up, so it's leaving the centre-backs exposed and being pulled out of shape. MGH Gaming says, the back 5 is actually making Steve struggle. It's no coincidence that this formation and Steve is struggling. Something else I want to talk to you about, Chris, I'll come to you first on this one, is we seem to have been all at sea defensively since Big Les hasn't been in the side. Obviously, I'm not saying, because obviously Florentino's coming in, he's done very, very well, and you watch his performance, he is actually one of, if not the best players in the side in terms of his ability and what he brings. But is it a coincidence that as soon as Les isn't there, we start shipping a lot of goals and start having these massive gaps, or do you think there's something to it with Les not being there?
I don't know. I would probably just say it's a coincidence. I don't think one player would really solve the issue we've had, but I mean his absence has coincided with what's come around. I think the thing for me with Les, and what kind of irks me a little bit, is that he would never, had he not been sent off, he would never have been dropped, because he was probably one of the best players we'd had in the early stages of the season, I would say. So I can't really kind of get my head around why, when he's come back, we've not found a way to bring him back in and shuffle around. The obvious one is Laurent to go back to a back 4. It just obviously shows me that he must be all in on this back 5, because if you're happy to leave a £20 million player on the bench when you're technically a midfielder light and you've got a £20 million midfielder sat on the bench in place of essentially Laurent is the guy who's taking his place because he's at centre half, that to me tells you that he must be all in on this back 5. But I think universally everyone kind of agrees Big Les needs to come back in. I think, I'm not saying it's necessarily the answer, but I think everyone's at the minute kind of hinging on seeing Cullen, Luis and Les in midfield. Will it work? I don't know. There's not loads of flair in there, is there? Or someone who's going to create...
I agree. I think that is the next step for me. I think that's what we should play next. That midfield. As Jordan says there on screen. But there's not... Again, I don't think that solves the attacking issues, because there's not none of them are attack-minded enough.
It doesn't solve the attacking issues, because Cullen and Luis definitely aren't going to create loads of chances. Ugachuklu's obviously a threat when he's arriving into the box with his size, and he can drive with the ball. But he's not your creative number 10 type, is he? But then again, Parker doesn't really like playing with someone like that. So I think it's something he has to really look at. Sometimes football can be as simple as just putting your best players on the pitch and it sounds daft, but just put your best players on the pitch and hope you find something that clicks. At the end of the day, back 5 isn't working. He's proved it over we're 5 without a win now. So, and you've played a back five in every one of those games, I think, unless I'm mistaken. So your back five's not working. I know we've played like some quality opposition, but we've also played a Forest team at home who've not won under Ange. That was a great chance to win a game.
And also lost to Sunderland the week after.
Yeah, so we did miss a good chance to win a game there. And we were probably too negative. So I think he has to change something up. And, if we go back to this back four and, let's say we have them three in midfield, they were all pretty combative. They'll get around the pitch, put themselves about. Maybe we have license to free someone else up elsewhere. We're like, Chowner to me is as good kind of coming back as he is going forward, but he doesn't I don't know. Listen, he's new. I don't want to sit here and like slag him off. He was really poor yesterday. But yeah, I agree. I just don't think he's ready. But then who is on the right wing? We don't really have anyone. Like there's the obvious elephant in the room of Tressor, but he doesn't really want to play on the right. So like what do you do? Do you play Edwards? Like I was someone who really doesn't want to see Edwards in the Prem. I just don't think he's kind of got what it takes to play in the Prem. But I think if you played a midfield three with him, you could probably get away with his work rate a little bit more. And if I was to pick a team to play Leeds right here and now, when you're asking me, I'm not saying I wouldn't change my mind. I would probably pick Marcus Edwards just because we're getting desperate. Like we've got to find something that works.
Yeah,
this is the problem with the next game though. It's too big of a game to piss around with, isn't it? It's now that Leeds game's now become a must win, hasn't it? So, but I think the
season starts against Leeds.
The three, but the three they complement each other so well. Like you've got Cullen, that's the general, that's the sort of cliche, but like the orchestrator that he's giving orders. He's starting the press like he were doing at Villa. He's starting the press. You've got Big Les who's good with on the ball, driving forward and being that ball carrier through the lines, and you've got Louise that is sort of like shield that covers you. Like I don't know why you wouldn't put them three on the pitch together at the same time. Like it seems really obvious unless there's, I don't know, I can't even think of an excuse, but like that just seems like such an obvious fix, and I think that would then help everybody else. I think it frees up, like say, a Chowner to be a bit more of a maverick player to make something happen, because he knows he's got legs in Cullen, he's got legs in Big Les, and he's got legs in Louise that will cover him if he's out of position. But I think one of the problems against Villa didn't help was the fact that every time I looked up, I saw Laurent and Tuanzebe that were higher than both our centre midfielders. Like, they just kept wandering off. Like, like where the first goal just comes from them, like pissing 20 yards up and leaves everybody behind. Like leaves Hartman and Esteve to be like, what's going on? And I think that's where you probably need that midfield three to keep it crowded, to say to people trying to get beyond, say no, like stay back, we've got it, we know we'll be right. And but yeah, that midfield three I think has to come in against Leeds. I really do, especially because they've got such height and presence in midfield.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's what I do for the midfield three, if I'm honest with you. Although obviously we mentioned quite a lot the attacking presence, or should I say lack of attacking presence. Chris, I'll come to you first on this one again. Lyle Foster. It seems like we have to discuss Lyle every single week. But this is something that I've been sent. And it shows Lyle's touches in the box, which is literally one. There's one. Or I'm looking at them two dots now. I think that might be two dots just really close to each other, so it looks like one because it's a little bit elongated. But even if it is two, we'll go with one. But even if it is two, it's not enough for somebody who played, how long did he play? He obviously started the match. When did he come off?
He was on the pitch with Brozier, who come on at the hour mark, so he must have done 65 to 70.
According to this, came off on the 69th minute for Big Les. And as we said earlier, that wasn't earlier. That was me and you before the show started, wasn't it, Chris? Brozier comes on around the 60th minute mark. So he's played a good 40 minutes there because obviously we end up going past 100 minutes. So he's played at least 35, 30 minutes, at least. He touched the ball in the opposition half twice. Not the box, the half. Twice in them 40 minutes. So we're not getting enough from Foster. And in terms of attacking threat, don't get me wrong, with Foster, I thought yesterday was very poor. There was that moment, all right, it was offside in the end, which saved his blushes, but it gets forward, the ball comes in, he tries to hit it, completely misses it. And I'm just sat there thinking, like, you're a striker. I know he brings a lot more to the side. He does a lot more than just putting the ball in the back. Well, I don't even do that enough for us. But he does a lot more than that. But in them moments, he's just not offering us enough. And you can see there, a lot of them touches are deeper because of the system, as one of the comments just said there. It's gone now. As one of the comments just said there, it's more the system. But even in these little moments where we need a bit of quality from him, we're just not getting it. And then Brozier comes on. And you can see the difference there, by the way. If anyone wants Brozier to start ahead of Foster for whatever reason, if you think Foster's not scoring enough, look at how much more Foster offered to the team. And I know Foster started and played more, but still, the fact that Armando Brozier has touched the ball in the opposition half twice in 35, 40 minutes is downright scandalous, if I'm going to be honest with you. I've not been impressed with Brozier. However, I am still at the stage of refusing to slag him off or write him off because he's not had that much of a chance yet. Yes, he weren't great against Cardiff. Yes, he weren't great when he came on yesterday. But I do want to see more of him. I do want him to settle into the side a little bit more before I completely write him off like some people already have. But I just feel like the two individuals, there's your Foster's one again, one touch in the box. There's your Brozier one again, just two touches overall in the opposition half. We're just not getting enough from him, are we, Chris?
No, obviously, like we've debated Foster what feels like every week. I feel like every time we come on, we talk about Lyle Foster, and obviously, like it's probably becoming boring, but it's the same issue that keeps kind of cropping up. We just can't seem to put the ball in the net, and when you can't do that, the first person you look at is obviously your striker, and then you're looking at what's behind him and thinking, well, not very much. Like Brozier come on and did nothing, and he had a good stint. It's not like he had a cameo like he has been getting. He had a good stint and a good chance to do something. He didn't do anything. Like, and you look behind him and you think, well, Fleming, come on. Is Fleming going to do anything in the Prem? Not for me. I just don't think he's got that kind of like athleticism to play in the Prem. But I'm not saying I wouldn't have a look at it. I just think with Foster, like all he seems to bring to the table for me is like hard work, pace, power. Like he'll run the channels, he'll work hard. Like he's just a nuisance really to play against, but he's just not prolific at all. Like that cross that comes across the box and he completely misses it. If he puts that in the back of the net, it's going to VAR because it was tight. Like that was very, very tight. Like, and in, say he's onside 1-1, different game, or 1-0. I don't know what score it was at the time. But like, that says it all. Like if you've got a strike rate of 1 in 8, and you're trying to like justify that he's going to start in the Premier League, it's just not going to work, is it? Like it's like I said, he just if you've got a striker who doesn't score goals, you're onto a loser. You are like, and at one like saving grace. Well, it's not saving grace for us, but it is for Foster. Like he doesn't get much service. Like I do think sometimes like he's not got crosses coming into the box that he can be on the end of, like at United, where he's kind of like he's positioned himself right and he puts, he's a tap in. Like we never kind of don't seem to get crosses into the box anywhere near as much as we did last year. For me, like my uncle, who I know he'll be watching now, he always says to me like we could have Van Basten up front and he wouldn't score in this team because we just don't create anything. And I do agree with that. I just don't think we create anything. Yesterday, we said earlier, like before Nathan joined, so obviously you won't have heard of it, but like how reliant we are on Anthony, or that like Anthony didn't turn up yesterday. Really, like I don't think he had a great game, and we didn't create anything. Like, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think we're just kind of like so reliant on it that when he doesn't do anything, we've just got nothing elsewhere, and that's why I say like down the right, we need to find a solution down that right wing, and if we have to look at Edwards and it doesn't work, then we say, all right, we've tried it. If we have to look at like someone else, if it has to be Tressor, I mean, it won't be, but like, let's say for argument's sake, it's him, or it's we put Foster on the wing again, or like, I don't know, like I don't get paid enough to make these decisions, but something needs to change to start creating more chances. Maybe it could be Foster out wide and Fleming up front. I honestly don't know like what the answer is, but he needs to change something, like, to get us scoring goals again, because ultimately you can keep clean sheets and you can try and keep it to one all you want. If you don't score goals, you're not staying up. Like, that's the fact of it. I would hazard a guess without guessing, without having any numbers. Pretty much every team who stays up, I would imagine, have someone who gets around 10 goals, striker probably. Like, maybe Anthony's our most likely person to get there now, but like, Anthony's goals alone won't keep you up. So they need goals from elsewhere and fast, especially next weekend.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Nathan, do you think it's a system issue then? Obviously, Chris there saying we don't agree enough. Agree enough, create enough.
No, definitely. He was feeding off scraps really on Sunday, but I do think it is a bit of a system issue. Not necessarily a system, but just more like a directness. Like we've said all season, last season, going, we've talked about Lau Foster and going, yeah, Championship's not his bag. He likes to have the space to run in behind and get on, and yet we've not done that once this year. We've not put the ball over the top in behind for Lau Foster to chase. Yet all last season we sat here going, oh, that's his best rate. Yeah, he can't really do it in the Championship, but he could do it in the Prem because he can get in behind and run after it. And it's like we didn't, back to the original point with Brozier, like we didn't need to sign Brozier because we already have a Brozier. He's called Lau Foster. Like, he's a player that gets on the ball and runs in behind defences or makes that long ball, plays that long ball over the top and runs one-on-one with the keeper, and that's what he's good at. But we don't do that. We're very, very sharp passing. It's very much through the lines, transition. It's all, like most of Foster's goals that you got a joy from is that long ball, or not necessarily a long ball, but that long pass through the lines that break the line, and he's onto it on a one-on-one, and that's where I think his bread and butter is. But we just don't play that way, and we're asking him to change his entire game to suit our system, which I don't think is very fair. Because I don't think an excellent player can do that, and I don't think he is an excellent player. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's the kind of player that can just change his entire game and still be effective. Like that, them spots on that pitch to show you that he's dropping in too deep. He's getting a nice touch, dropping it down, laying it off, and then nothing's happening after that for him. I think that stat graphic doesn't do him. I think it does him dirty a little bit, because what he's actually doing is coming in, receiving the ball, holding it up, and then laying it off straight away. You look where he's picking it all up. He's picking it up in between your sort of midfield and your defensive lines. It's the bit afterwards. So the ball would say go out to Anthony, but then it doesn't come back into Lau Foster, or you know what I mean. So I think it is to answer your question a long way, I think it is a bit of a system problem, and I think it's also a person. I just don't think Foster has got the ability to become something for the system that we need.
Yeah, not to sit on the fence a little bit with this one, but I agree with you, to be fair. I think it's a mixture of both. I don't think Foster's good enough in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net, and I don't think Brozier is either. But I also think we're very pedestrian and we don't create enough. So in that type of system, we need somebody who can score goals from few chances, not somebody who needs 5-6 chances to put the ball in the back of the net. I've mentioned it already, and I know it was offside, but the fact that he completely missed it when the ball was put into the box for him, I just thought that was shocking. That you've got to be at least forcing the keeper into a save there. That was very, very poor for me, and I thought that we should have done a little bit better. Keep your comments coming in. We've had a few. Warrell up top says Chronicles of Shard. I'm not sure that one would work, mate, if I'm going to be honest with you. Paul Walker says, we have needed a quality striker for years now. JB Brown says, I don't rate Foster. His goal tally doesn't lie, but he's not getting much service as a result of negative setup by Parker. We need some creativity. Nothing to lose by giving Trezor a chance. Dominic H says, bloody hell, I'm late. Looks like I'll be watching this back later. Yes, don't forget you could do that. I will remind you all at the end of the show. Andrew's in the chat. Couldn't join us tonight on stream because he plays football on Mondays, but he says, person we're screaming out for, in my opinion, is Coley Oshaw. A lot of the games we're needing to play on the counter, and the only player capable of running at defenders right now is Anthony. Good to see Jimmy's in the chat. Jimmy's a Sunderland fan, so he's miserable with us as well, but at least they've had a decent enough start to not be as miserable as us. But he says, with the lack of goal options for the team, did the Burnley ball with the last window tie Parker's hands behind his back, or did they do everything they could? I feel like we spent a lot of money, mate. Obviously, we didn't bring in enough strikers. We brought in Brozier. I'm not sure if that was a Parker choice or not. Notorious BJB says, I honestly haven't felt disheartened at our striking options since the days of Jukovic and Sordell. Max OFB says, Flem scored crucial goals last year, but you don't trust him now. Why? I don't think anybody said they don't trust him, mate. I just don't think he's good enough for the Prem, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think Foster is a better striker than him, and Foster's coming up well short. I would give him a go, but I don't think I'd be starting him. I mean, at the minute, what else can you do? I feel like it might be an option to do that now. Kieran Phillips says, I've been watching Burnley for 37 years, and Foster is the worst centre-forward we have ever had. He's absolutely shocking. I understand the sentiment, mate, but I don't think he's even the worst centre-forward we've got at the club now. Although, that's harsh of me to say that. I've literally just said 5 minutes ago, I won't write Brozier off, and then I go and say that. Max says, play Edwards, it's simple. We struggled for goals last year, and then when Edwards came in, we scored the most goals. Not a coincidence. Like Chris said earlier, mate, I would be looking at playing Edwards now, to be fair. I think Parker's too cautious, and that's why he won't play him. Yeah. Sue says... Sorry, go on, Nathan.
No, I just don't trust him. I just don't trust Edwards on the pitch. I think he just leaves you exposed. And, we're talking about being ultra defensive and ultra negative. Like, we have to be then ultra negative because we're constantly tracking back all the time for Edwards not doing his bit. So I think that's why he doesn't get a run in the team ultimately.
Yeah, fair enough. Sue says we should have signed the lad from Norwich. Yeah, there was a comment about that earlier. GST said Edwards offered nothing against the League One Cardiff side in the Cup, though, in this system. See, that's while I like Edwards, and I do think maybe we should be trying him because what we're doing right now isn't working. That's the side that I agree with. He played against Derby as well. Let's not forget, he was poor in that game. He was poor against Cardiff as well. As Lee said, Edwards doesn't deserve a chance after that display against Cardiff. Edwards is lazy, says Chronicle. I like him, but... I can't really disagree with some of these. Reece says, feel the same about Fleming and Edwards. Don't think either have done anything to earn a place, but it's hardly working with the other options. There was a comment earlier on, this one here from Clara. I'll come to you first on this one, Nathan. And I have seen a few people now. It's very few and far between, but the negativity has started due to the poor start. Can't really have a go at people for being negative because it hasn't been great. We expected, in terms of the last couple of games, especially a little bit more. However, I go back to the point I made at the start of the season. When I saw at the start of the season, start of the show, when I saw the start that we had to the season, I expected us to be in and around 4 points at this stage now. And that's exactly what we've got. I think we are where we expected to be, but the last two performances haven't been great. However, there has been a few murmurings, a few of the people who like to jump on the bandwagon very early, calling for Parker's head. Personally, I think that's ridiculously too soon, but someone's said it in the comments. A few people have said it on Twitter as well. There was a couple of people on my Facebook comments as well. All the usual suspects, the same people that do it every couple of defeats. They did the same with Company, they did the same with Daesh, and they're doing the same now with Parker. There was people who've been doing it last season for Parker. But Clara Al says, does Parker get this and next season to get it right, or is it once bitten, twice shy? Where are you at with Parker then, Nathan? Obviously, I'm not going to have is it Parker in or out debate, because I think everybody of a sound mind will say at this stage it's Parker in. But questions obviously are starting to be asked now because I feel like it has been a little bit too pedestrian. But what are your thoughts on him and his managerial style and some of the negativity around him? Dominic goes on to say, I've got to give him to Lexmus at least, in my opinion.
I mean, we all knew the sort of manager we were getting in Parker, which from the get-go has always been quite not negative, but quite defence-minded, hasn't it? And there's no coincidence we went on and broke them ridiculous records in the Championship, and he doubled down on all that, didn't he? So I think it is harsh to be even talking about that just yet, because I don't. The saving grace for me in all this Manchester City game is we haven't been pumped yet. We've not been really battered, which is a positive, I think, which again shows probably what the state of where we're at in the Premier League as a club. I'm more happy that we're not getting pumped every week like we were under Company. Like even that Villa, even though Villa overran us really, and it could have been a lot worse in the first half if it weren't for Dubravka. Yeah, it still leaves you, like that you get that goal in the last 15 and you go, hold on a minute, it still keeps you within touching distance of getting something. So. To do anything with Parker now it'd be suicide, because I just don't think any manager comes in and, like I say, you bring in a firefighting manager and he's not got the players in that team to do what he needs to do, to do the dirty, horrible stuff. I just don't, you'd have to rip up the book completely. You look at what's happening at Forest, you've just took all the good things and it's just been ripped up straight away. And to do that with us, it'd be absolute suicide in this season, and you would just pretty much kiss your, unless we're to do something insane like I don't even know any names that come to the top of my head, but I just don't think you could get anybody in now that is better, or the bare minimum is you're going to get someone who's the same as Parker. That's, you know what I mean? That it's not going to get any better than
there's
that.
notorious BJV.
There's no chance. There's absolutely no chance. But no, I think it's just it's far too early. And like we've said, our season starts against Leeds now. Like that is the last of our. I mean, it's the Premier. They're all difficult games, but the next run of games are winnable. Really, you know. And it's time to just sort of see where we're at. You know, get to sort of 10 games. You know, this was like last season though. We got to 10 games in and we sort of saw the lay of the land, and it started to click a little bit, didn't it? And them results started to grind away. So you'd like to think we'd iron a few things out, and stuff. But yeah, no, Parker in for me at the minute, all day, every day.
No, I agree with everything you said there. I do think it's too early. Chris, your thoughts on that sort of like debate, murmurings?
Yeah, it's just too early. I think, like you said perfectly before for me, and I said this last night to someone else, like, if you expected us to have more than 4 points after 7 games, you're probably kidding yourself. Like, I think the argument has always been, if you beat Sunderland at home and you got a point off Forest, all that 4 of the away games we've had have been terrible. Like, people say, oh, Spurs was a good game because they finished 17th last season. No, that's absolute fallacy. Man U's a good game. Man U are rubbish. Like, no, that's fallacy as well. Like, Man U are Man U. Old Trafford's Old Trafford. Like, you're not getting... Very, very few teams who are newly promoted ever go to Old Trafford and win. If anyone can tell me the last team to go to Old Trafford and win who were newly promoted, I would be surprised, because it must be that long ago. I just think we're where we should be, which is 4 points. I think that's pretty... If anyone's surprised that we've got 4 points, I don't know what you expected. Like, but, you know, things can change very quickly in football. Like, managers can become available who you think, you might be all right. But for now, I don't think it's even a conversation.
I've done a little chart of sad like this, and I've picked all the results down, and we're actually 1 point ahead of what I'd predicted. So
yeah, that's the thing.
I had us down for 3 points, Sunderland at home, and that was that. We weren't getting anything in any other game. This
is the saving grace and the caveat for the season. And I'm not the sort of person who'd make excuses, as you two well know. And I don't want to sit here and be like, oh well, it's because of this. Because the excuses don't get you points in the Premier League. But the facts are, we've played 4 of the big 6 and 2 teams in Aston Villa and Forest who are in Europe. And the only game we've had against anyone like our level, really, was Sunderland, and we won it. So, I know Forest are struggling down the bottom of the table, but Nottingham Forest, every single player in the Forest 11 will get into our team pretty much, like I would say. Yeah. Not many of ours will get in theirs. So, it's a really tough game. The start we've had's been horrific. Yeah. But we're now coming into 3 of the next 4 are quite favourable fixtures in West Ham away, Wolves away, Leeds at home. And if you don't get any points out of these next, let's discount Arsenal, if you don't get any points out of these next 3 games, then all of a sudden you're looking at it and thinking God, we're 6-7 points adrift here. How do we get this back? And that's when you start looking and thinking, well, can we change manager? Because people will get twitchy. Company should have gone. Make no mistake about it. Company should have gone. And they'll know there's a lot of money on the line here. Because if we go down, we've got no saleable assets. Beside Maxime Estef, we've got no saleable assets because we've got no one who's really any good. We're obliged to pay for Florentino and whoever else is on loan. So we're in a bit of a pickle here. If we go down this time, so we've not got the £100 million to sell. So listen, if they lose the next 4 games, ask me again.
Yeah, it might be different at that stage, to be fair. MGH Gaming, sorry, go on, Chris.
It's not a conversation for now, but in 4 games it might be very different.
MGH Gaming says, do we really think we'll be better than we actually are at this stage? No, like I said, and Chris has said that as well. I think we are where we expected to be. Kieran says, sack Parker, F me, give your heads a wobble. Obviously, Kieran's there showing his incapable of following a conversation once again, because nobody on the podcast has said they should sack Parker. Nobody in the comments has said they should sack Parker. I'm just responding to some of the usual suspects whinging on Twitter. And as usual, Kieran has a whinge in the comments. Reece James says, see where we are after around 15 games before we start thinking about getting rid of Parker. Needs to be a decent shot at the more winnable games. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Lee says, if we're 10 points adrift in January, maybe. If we're 10 points adrift in January, there's probably no point. But I expect us to be a bit behind the other promoted team. I expect us to be probably due to the fixtures there. Clara Al says, Parker needs to build around his strongest players, which he can. Only know why he isn't. Far too premature to be talking about sacking Parker for me. He just needs to change the system. 4-2-3-1 is the way to go. Fire at the back yesterday. We were so open defensively. I think that's it for me. I think give him more time. Hopefully he isn't stubborn like Company was and sticks with a system and a team that doesn't work. And then if he starts showing that it's a bit more pragmatic, which I feel like he already has done, to be fair, but now doing it again, then maybe we'll have a conversation then.
It did take him about 10 or 12 games in the Championship to sort of settle on his sort of 11, 10 generals. You know what I mean? It sort of took him that long to figure out who's got it in it for the season. And once that was sort of settled, that was it then. That just became his thing, didn't it? So we're sort of trending towards that now. The little tinker in each game, ins and outs and people like that. And then probably by the Chelsea game, regardless of results, we'll probably know what our, final form looks like in this division, I think. That all depends again, though, if we go and absolutely pick up 0 points by then, which is, Parker sort of has to sort of...
Yeah. What we'll have to do now is something we don't usually do when we lose, but... Hold on, I've had a private message off Chris. So we need to bring Kieran's comment up here. He says, because obviously Kieran must be a little bit behind, but he says, wasn't that long ago Pal Forest won and their return to the Premier League at Old Trafford? I think he's referring to the bit there where you were saying Man United's Man United. But Chris has pulled out the stat. He says, tell Kieran he's wrong. Forest lost 3-0 in their first season back. So there you go, Kieran. You're wrong, which I'm not surprised at, if I'm going to be honest with you. But anyway, moving on. Man of the match, not something we usually do when we get beat, but I feel like yesterday there was an obvious one. And because Andrew isn't here, we're probably all going to say the same person. I'm going to start this time. It has to be Martin Dubravka. I think without Martin Dubravka, don't forget, by the way, get your comments coming in the stream. I'll put them all on screen and read them all out with your man of the match vote. But for me, it was Martin Dubravka. I thought without him on the pitch, he made, I think it was 5 saves I saw on a stat earlier. So it's him. Without him, we lose 4-1, 5-1 maybe. He made a lot of good saves again. So yeah, for me, Martin Dubravka. Chris?
I was torn between two. For me, it was a close one between. It was either Dubravka or probably Axel Tuanzebe. Probably Dubravka just edges it, but there weren't much in it. No, it was Dubravka by a landslide. I think if it wasn't for him, we'd probably have lost about 6-1.
Yeah,
maybe.
I thought you were going to go for Florentino or something then. But as soon as you said Tuanzebe, I'm like, yeah, he's taking the piss, this guy.
Yeah, no, it was. It wasn't even close. I don't think. I know there's other shouts for I did think Florentino was all right, but I don't think he even come close to Dubravka. Without him, I think we'd have just been embarrassed even more than we probably already were. I think it would have been. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can think of at the very, very least 2 world class saves he made. That one from Digne in stoppage time was such a good save. He was going the other way.
The header as well in the first half. That
there was quite a few good saves he made. So I think it him by an absolute landslide for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Nathan.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy one. I'll obviously put my ticket down again for the Louise fan club. I think I just love him. I just have to mention him every week. I love him. I think he's just exactly what you need in a Premier League team. It's Dubravka. It is just Dubravka. He's pulled us out of the shit there, really. We are looking at probably a 4-0 half-time scoreline if it wasn't for Dubravka. And that's not me being over-exaggerating the negative. There's 4 very, including the goal, but 3 other very obvious goal-scoring opportunities for Villa, and the only way they don't go in is because of Dubravka. So he's very much kept us in the game there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. Let's have a look at some of the comments then. Signing of the season, says Scott O'Sullivan. I think he's talking about Dubravka there because he does vote for Dubravka. Notorious BJB says Dubravka. Chronicles of Chard says Florentino. MJH says Dubravka. Reece James says Dubravka. Scott O'Sullivan says Dubravka. Simon Woodhouse says Cullen. Left field.
Yeah.
He weren't poor. Just I'm surprised that he's got a vote. Dubravka was class, says Chronicles. Lee Greenwood says Dubravka. Who well stood out? Kieran says Luis Florentino. Andy Davis says man of the match. Shout Florentino. Looked tidy on the ball. I agree with that. I think I think for me he was the best outfield player. You can tell he's got more quality than the majority of the squad. He is our standout player easily, I think. Jimmy the Sunderland fan says cannot bring myself to say a Newcastle player is man of the match. He's a Burnley player, mate. Not a Newcastle player anymore. He's a Burnley player. But I know what you mean. There's no way I'd vote for a horse shagging bastard if there was a Blackburn player on a podcast that I was watching. James Horton says Martin or Florentino for me. MGH Gaming says actually think without Dubravka we could be on 0 points this season. That is a worrying thought, mate. Yeah. And Scott says signing of the season. He's everyone's second keeper in fantasy football, apparently. I don't really play it, so I wouldn't know. I used to play it loads when I was younger, but it got to the stage where I'd log in, make a team, and then just never log in again after that. And I just ended up being bottom of all the leagues because I weren't paying attention. We'll start wrapping it up there because we have hit the hour mark, and I start work again in 15 minutes, unfortunately. Unless there's anything else Nathan or Chris want to mention very quickly.
Do we have to have another international break?
I mean, yes. After the football we watched yesterday, I would like a weekend that's not ruined.
But the alternative is watching that absolute shite from England, like the squad selection.
You could go out with the family, mate. You could go out with the family. Just sack that off. Go out with the family because we can't go out with the family when Burnley on. We have to watch it or be there. Like there's no option.
Yeah, that squad selection's just frustrating. Like leaving Grealish and Wharton out again.
Bellingham. Yeah, I'm not sure on the Bellingham thing for me. I know he's just come back from injury, but he's back from injury now. And if he's playing for Real Madrid, he can play for England. But
you've got opposition players talking about Wharton in post-match interviews, saying like, "Oh no, don't give it." Like Grealish, he was like, "Don't give me man at match, give it Adam Wharton. He was best player at Park tonight." Like, and yet Tuchel can't. I'm just not feeling it. I was hopeful with the Tuchel thing, but I ain't feeling it anyway. Enough England shit.
Yeah, well, you won't see me praising Wharton too much. I know Chris is now the president of the Wharton fan club. Every time I go on Twitter, he's absolutely bumming him. Nathan's, I think, the vice president now as well. Don't get me wrong, he's clearly a very good player. But yeah, that's as much as you'll get off me. Chronicle says it feels like we have to wait ages to watch a Prem game at the Turf. It feels like every month. Yeah, it does. To be fair, it does. Yeah. But we'll wrap it up there. In fact, before I do, I just want to give a quick shout out. Obviously, at the top left-hand corner of your screen now, as you can see, there's a QR code, and then the instructions on the bottom say that if you scan that QR code, you can donate to my charity. It's in less than a week. I just haven't updated the banner since I did it. It's this Sunday coming. Manchester Half Marathon. I'm running it in aid of St Anne's Hospice. But just to give a quick shout out to the people that have donated: Paul Holt, John Robertson, Linda Ward, Andrew Blythe, Coral, Nathan Rogers. Cheers, Nathan. And Anonymous, who didn't even say how much he donated. Well, it might have been Chris. Yeah, we'll just pretend that was Chris and it was 500 quid. Jan Krivizinac, I butchered that. Will Room, Dan Barnes, Mark from V8 NINet, I don't know. Solent Claret, who donated £50, by the way. I know Solent listens to this, so thank you, Solent. I know he's got a yacht. I know he's got a boat. I know he lives all the way down in, Solent. He's not short for cash, I would imagine. But it's a thank you so much, mate. I really do appreciate that. 50 quid is a lot of money regardless of whether you've got a yacht or not. So I really do appreciate that, mate. Thank you. And the most recent donation, which was £20 today, my dad. So thanks, Dad, if you're still watching. He did send me a message saying, make sure you've mentioned me on the full-time show for that. Well, there you go, Dad. There's your shout out. But as usual, as soon as I press end stream, because I'm going to wrap it up now, you can watch it back at your leisure on the platform you've been watching it on, whether it be YouTube or Facebook. And I will be putting the podcast up as an audio-only sort of that podcast in all the usual places, ready for your morning commute. I'll probably be putting it up in the next couple of hours. But thanks, Chris, for coming on. Thanks, Nathan, for coming on. It's always good to have a couple here. Appreciate you coming on, especially on a Monday night when you've all been at work, been busy. Both got young kids as well. So I do appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure as well to get you both on. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. We will see you next time.